Would Luka Dončić disrupt the Celtics' locker room chemistry? The Boston Celtics have built one of the most cohesive and disciplined rosters in the NBA. This chemistry, both on and off the court, was crucial in securing the 2024 championship and remains one of the team's greatest strengths. Jayson, Tatum, and Jaylen have proven that two stars can share the spotlight without jeopardizing the team's success, something rare in a league where egos often clash. But what if Luka Dončić were added to this equation? Doncic is a player who needs the ball in his hands to be effective. He controls the offense, dictates the pace, and rarely operates as an off-ball facilitator. This style works on a team built around him, like the Dallas Mavericks. But would it fit within a Celtics squad that already has a well-established hierarchy? The answer may not sit well with his fans, but it's simple. Doncic wouldn't just struggle to adapt to Boston's system. He could destabilize a chemistry that took years to perfect. Doncic's playing style clashes with Boston's offensive identity. The Celtics thrive on constant ball movement and collective involvement. Their offense is structured to prevent any one player from monopolizing possessions. Tatum and Brown have learned to share responsibilities, while Jrue Holiday and Derek White ensure fluidity on offense without compromising the defense. Doncic, however, is one of the most ball-dominant players in the NBA. He likes to slow the game down, heavily relies on isolation plays, and struggles to contribute when playing off the ball. His arrival wouldn't just impact Boston's on-court strategy, it could disrupt the locker room dynamics as well. The Celtics have built an environment based on discipline, sacrifice, and a commitment to the collective. Joe Mazzulla has created a team where no one places themselves above the group, and that's a key reason behind their success. But would Doncic accept a role where he isn't the unquestioned focal point? Or worse, would he create tension if he didn't have total control of the offense? A leadership structure already in place in Dallas, Doncic has always had free rein to dominate the game. He has never had to adapt to a roster with a pre-existing hierarchy. He has always been the guy. Now, imagine him walking into a locker room where Tatum and Brown are the established leaders, and Jrue Holiday commands respect as a championship-winning veteran. If Doncic didn't accept this reality, the Celtics' locker room could turn into a ticking time bomb. Key players like Jrue Holiday and Derek White could see their roles diminished, and the team could lose its defensive identity. Even worse, if Doncic demanded more touches, it could directly impact Tatum and Brown's productivity, something no Celtics fan would want to see. The Celtics system demands more than just talent. It's not just Boston's locker room philosophy that would require adjustments from Doncic. The team's playing style itself demands a level of effort and commitment that not all players are willing to embrace. Defense, intensity, off-ball movement, and self-sacrifice. These are fundamental traits for anyone who wants to fit into the Boston Celtics system. Would Doncic be willing to make those sacrifices? Or would his presence ultimately break the balance of a team built for sustained success? Doncic's defense would make him an easy target in the playoffs, and Boston can't carry dead weight. The Celtics defeated the Dallas Mavericks in the 2024 finals with a simple yet effective strategy. Attack Luka Dončić. Joe Mazzulla identified an obvious weakness and exploited it relentlessly, putting the Slovenian at the center of Boston's offensive actions and exposing his defensive struggles. The result? A dominant championship, where the Celtics dismantled Dallas's system, making it clear that Doncic has no chance of being an elite defender in a playoff series. And that's the big question. If he struggled defensively against the Celtics, how could he help Boston face even more physical and strategic teams like the Milwaukee Bucks or Denver Nuggets? The answer may be uncomfortable for some, but it's the reality. Doncic lacks the discipline, explosiveness, and defensive commitment needed to play in the Boston Celtics system. There's a difference between being a weak defender and being a playoff liability. Players like Stephen Curry were never dominant defenders, but they compensate with effort, game awareness, and positioning. Doncic, on the other hand, is not just a weak defender. He often looks disinterested, who struggles in one-on-one matchups, and loses track of his responsibilities within a defensive scheme. These issues make him a constant target, Opponents know he can be attacked and design plays specifically to expose his flaws. In the playoffs, when teams have time to adjust tactics and pinpoint weaknesses, he becomes a major liability. In the Celtics system, Doncic would be a problem, not a solution. Boston has built its success on one fundamental principle: everyone defends, no exceptions. This philosophy is what makes the Celtics one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. Every player on the roster has a defined role and executes it with discipline. Jrue Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, and even Kristaps Porzingis are key pieces in a strong and versatile defensive system. Another crucial factor is mentality. In Boston, players are held accountable at all times, and defense is treated with the same importance as offense. Mazzulla demands maximum intensity on both ends of the floor. When Kyrie Irving was in Boston, we saw what happens when a player doesn't meet that level of commitment. The team simply doesn't function. And Doncic has a concerning track record when it comes to handling criticism and accountability. His attitude often suggests that he's unwilling to change his playing style to fit into a new philosophy. If Doncic joined Boston and continued to be a defensive liability, would Mazzulla bench him? Would he be able to accept that reality? Or would he start creating locker room tension, complaining about adjustments that took him out of his comfort zone? Luka Dončić has the worst conditioning among NBA superstars, a problem everyone ignores. There's no denying it. Luka Dončić is one of the most talented players in the league. His court vision, pace control, and offensive skill set are rare. But there's one major issue that many avoid discussing: his conditioning. Since entering the NBA, Doncic has struggled with weight and physical preparation. It's not uncommon to see him start seasons out of shape, carrying extra pounds, and taking weeks to reach his ideal form. This stands in stark contrast to other superstars who treat their bodies as their top priority. Players like Jayson Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and LeBron James invest millions in specialists, physiotherapists, and elite nutrition to maximize their performance. Doncic, on the other hand, often appears too relaxed about it. And that raises a fundamental question: does he truly take his physical conditioning seriously? In the playoffs, physical endurance separates true champions from mere individual talents. Luka Dončić can be brilliant in the early games of a series, but when the minutes pile up, when the defense tightens, and when his body is pushed to the limit, can he maintain the same level of play? In crucial moments, we've seen Doncic exhausted, showing clear signs of fatigue, something that doesn't happen with players like Tatum, Brown, or Holiday. The Boston Celtics have built a team that doesn't rely on just one player, precisely to avoid situations where individual fatigue compromises the collective effort. If Doncic were to join Boston, there would be a real risk that his conditioning could become a weakness exploited by opponents. And for a team aiming to stay dominant, that's a problem that simply cannot exist. Doncic's contract would break the Celtics' financial structure. Would it be worth paying that price? The Boston Celtics have built their recent success on a perfect balance of talent and depth. Their roster isn't just about Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. It also relies on key pieces like Jrue Holiday, Derek White, and Kristaps Porzingis. The result? A well-rounded team, strong at every position, capable of competing at a high level on both ends of the floor. Now imagine adding Luka Dončić to the equation. On paper, it sounds like a dream. One of the NBA's most talented players joining two already established stars. But in reality, it would be a financial disaster. With Tatum and Brown already on supermax contracts, bringing in Doncic would require a brutal sacrifice. And we're not just talking about draft picks or a promising young player. The Celtics would have to dismantle their winning foundation to fit a contract of that magnitude. Currently, Doncic is in the middle of a 5-year, $215 million contract, and that number will only rise when he becomes eligible for his next extension. With Tatum's new deal surpassing $314 million and Brown's reaching $304 million, adding another massive salary would push the Celtics into financially unsustainable territory. What does that mean? Simple. To make room for Doncic, the Celtics would have to part ways with key players. And let's be honest, what makes this team a powerhouse isn't just the star talent, but the depth of the roster. If Doncic came to Boston, it would be nearly impossible to keep players like Drew Holiday, Derek White, and Kristaps Porzingis. These three aren't just solid role players. They are essential to the team's success. NBA history has shown that assembling superstar trios doesn't always guarantee success. The Brooklyn Nets tried with Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving and failed. The Los Angeles Lakers paired LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook and collapsed. What did both teams have in common? A lack of depth and poor roster fit. The Celtics have already learned this lesson the hard way. In 2019, they brought in Kyrie Irving and attempted to build a star-driven team, but the project imploded. Only when they built a cohesive core focused on collective play did they return to the top. Would adding Doncic to this roster be a step backward? He is an incredible talent, but does Boston really need a player like him? Even if the Celtics went to extreme financial lengths to acquire Doncic without completely gutting the roster, fit issues would still remain. As mentioned before, Doncic isn't used to playing without the ball. He dominates possession and dictates the pace, something that works when he is the lone superstar, but would require major adjustments in Boston alongside Tatum and Brown. And what if it didn't work? If the chemistry between the three didn't click, what would be left? A team with no depth, no financial flexibility, and no clear way out. The reality is that the Celtics don't need Luka Dončić to remain a powerhouse. They are already the reigning NBA champions and have a roster built to compete for more titles in the coming years. Luka Dončić has never been a true leader. Would he be in the shadow of Tatum and Brown? Since arriving in the NBA, Luka Dončić has always been treated as the undisputed star of his team. From his early years with the Dallas Mavericks, he had complete freedom to shape the roster around him. But does he actually know how to be a secondary option? Or more importantly, would he even accept that role? If Doncic were to land in Boston, the dynamic would change completely. For the first time, he wouldn't be the sole owner of the ball. Tatum and Brown are already established stars, proven leaders of a championship team. They wouldn't need Luka to keep winning, but he would need them to secure a title, and that changes everything. The biggest issue is that Luka has never truly had to share the spotlight. Sure, he's played alongside talented teammates like Kyrie Irving and Kristaps Porzingis, but he was always the clear first option. In Dallas, everything revolves around him. But in Boston, he would have to adapt to a more collective style of play, where he wouldn't always be the primary offensive choice. And let's be honest, he has never shown a willingness to do that. Doncic is a maestro with the ball in his hands, but without it, he practically disappears. Unlike Steph Curry, who constantly moves to create space, Luka tends to remain stationary, waiting for the ball to come back to him. Would he accept a different role? Another key factor is leadership. Much is said about Doncic's genius, but does he truly elevate his teammates? The Dallas Mavericks have gone through multiple roster changes around him, yet the same issues persist. Inconsistent defense, lack of collective chemistry, and mental collapses in the playoffs. A true leader finds ways to make his team better, something Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown have already proven they can do. Brown, for instance, dominated Jimmy Butler in the 2024 Eastern Conference Finals and then took on the task of guarding Luka Dončić in the NBA Finals, shutting him down in key moments. Tatum, on the other hand, was the most consistent player throughout the championship run. Both embraced defensive responsibilities and sacrificed personal stats for the sake of the team. Would Luka do the same? Of course, we're talking about a generational talent. Doncic has the skill to play on any team in the world, but fitting raw talent into a well-established system isn't always seamless. With the Celtics, he would need to adjust his game, learn to move without the ball, and accept that some nights he wouldn't be the main attraction, and, most importantly, he would need to show emotional maturity. Luka is known for constantly complaining to referees, losing focus in tough moments, and displaying excessive frustration on the court. In Boston, where the team culture is built on discipline and collective effort, that wouldn't be tolerated. So the real question is, does Luka Dončić want to win a championship at any cost, or does he just want to be the face of a franchise? In Boston, he would have to be one among three, and maybe that's a role he's never been ready to accept.